Hello, I'm Jessica, host of the Reimagination Café podcast. We are new to YouTube, really happy to be here, and we look forward to sharing our content with you, both new episodes as we release them, as well as existing content we've produced over the past couple of years. We're currently featuring a podcast episode with the immensely talented Gary Hirsch. I had the opportunity to sit down with Gary yesterday. We talked about workplace transformation in the age of AI, building bridges and community, as well as Dominos, robots, street art, a movie theater that sparkles, and monster slayers. You can check that out right now. So I was looking at the date that we actually got together and did the podcast together. We were called Reimagining the Workplace at the time. We've since changed our name to the Reimagination Cafe.
Changed.
And it was February of 2024, so it's been a couple of years, and I have to tell you that was such a fun episode for me. I hope it was for you as well.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. And it was just great to catch up professionally and personally because we have that connection. So that was awesome.
Well, so that's one of the things that I wanted to mention is that I often get the question, how do you find your guests for the podcast? And there's really no one answer to that. It happens all sorts of ways, sometimes organically, sometimes I'm researching like crazy, sometimes someone who I respect knows somebody who they say, oh my gosh, this person would be great for your podcast. But the story with you is my favorite one because we had not seen each other in, it had probably been about 40 years, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So
that long.
So for anybody listening, Gary and I actually went to kindergarten through high school together, all that way, had not seen each other in, I guess it was about 40 years, and then ran into each other at really an elementary school reunion in the summer of 2023. And I was talking to a friend of ours, Janet, and telling her about my podcast, telling her I had this interest in workplace transformation. She was like, you got to talk to Gary, who was sitting like two people away from me at the table. And then, of course, when you started telling me what you do with On Your Feet, I was like, oh my gosh, we've got to get together for a podcast. So why don't you tell everyone listening a little bit about the two hats that you wear? Both the Botjoy hat, you're a visual artist, you create these wonderful bots, and you also do all this wonderful work with improv. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I do. I have this sort of crazy blessed work and artistic life that blend together. And my two hats, I sort of an 80%, 20% hat, where the 80% is I run a consultancy called On Your Feet. And On Your Feet looks at and uses the principles and practices that improvisers use on stage. So looking at an art form, and now this is a field called applied improvisation. So applying the practices and behaviors from this art form off stage. So I do a lot of work in corporate America. I do a lot of work with organizations that many people will have heard of and probably have products and services around. Disney, Apple, others. I'm based in Portland, so Nike is one of our main clients. And people still have a hard time wrapping their heads around what we do. But think of it this way. You can get training in a lot of different fields. You can do training in, training for presentation skills, and you can get training for creativity. We do those things, so it's towards those objectives. But the methodology to get there draws from this art form. So things are highly interactive, experiential. We do a lot of work with large conferences, presenting these ideas, small workshops, coaching. So everything is always very experientially based, as I said, but also fits this business objective because you can apply and then you can use the art form as a way to sort of test things and understand them. So we do a lot of performing as well, but that's on a personal level, and then we apply those to the work. And so sometimes a shortcut to that is I just get to play with grown-ups for a living.
Well, you've been doing that your entire life. So
28 years professionally, yes. And I'm a little older than that, so not my entire life, but yes. Close.
Well, so let's talk about the other hat that you wear as an artist, and can you talk about the bots that you create as well as the murals, all the artwork that you do?
Yeah, so it's funny because I talk about these being separate, but they are sort of from a professional place. So like I said, 80% of the time is working sort of as a consultant, but then 20% of my time is as a visual artist. And I do that in a lot of different art forms. So I do a lot of street art. So that is creating legally images on the side of buildings that I get commissioned to do, and I have those a lot of different places around the world. And then I also started a project about 15 years ago that you've referenced called Botjoy, and these are these little robots that live on the back of a domino, which in its own right is just sort of that's fun. I have one right here. There it is, and they're just an image on the back of a domino, but they've been sort of endowed with meaning. So I'll make a joy bot or a brave bot or a love bot, and then they come with little instructions. So the joy bot will say, let this watch you for a little bit, and when you need a little bit of joy, it'll give it to you. And so, these aren't actually giving you joy. There's not even a pre-programmed voice in it. It is literally a robot on the back of a domino. But the idea here is that a piece of art can help you find something you might need for yourself. So, and it seems to work in a sort of slightly mysterious way. So the robots then have taken off, and there's now thousands of people that are making them because I've invited folks to steal the idea. I still make them as well. And my goal for these is just simply using it as a piece of communication for people. So I might give you a love bot because I love you, or I might give you a joy bot to help you feel more joy if you're feeling sad, or I might invite you to make one to give to someone else. So it's just a way of messaging around emotions, actually, that you can give to others or help yourself with. And it's just been an amazing project because it's taken off without me. So I've made up to, I don't know, this one I'm holding in my hand, 84,264 is the one I have here. And there's probably more than that, which is crazy. And that's a lot. But at the same time, I don't really have to make these anymore because there's so many other people that have picked up the invitation to do it. So now I get to make less and watch them make themselves throughout the world. So that's a bit about the art. And then I'm also an illustrator. I'm working, there's a book that I've been working on that's coming out soon, which is a strange book for me, but also really aligned. It's a book about organizational transformation. There's a metaphor there, which is about monsters and monster slayers that's incorporated into the book, and I get to draw all those imageries. So that's been an amazing project too.
Yeah, well, and I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that. But first, I want to back up and mention that after the podcast, I actually commissioned you to create a bunch of bots for the Prospector Theater, which is a movie theater. It's a lot more than that, but it's a movie theater just around the corner from my house that actually provides meaningful employment to people with disabilities. And we did a podcast with their founder, Valerie Jensen. And it just made so much sense to me. They talk about sparkle at the Prospector. They're kind of their vision, their theme is to tap into people's sparkle, which is really just tapping into their passions. And having done the interview with you and then doing the interview with them, it just made so much sense to me to make that connection. And that was so much fun to create those sparkle bots. I think you made 300 sparkle bots.
300, yes, it was a great, fun project for me. And I loved, first of all, I just love how what you're doing with this podcast and your work, Jessica, is around not just highlighting amazing people doing amazing things, and I'm honored to be one of those, but also connecting them with each other.
Yeah, I love that.
Which is quite a service, actually. And it's kind of how, one of the things I talk about in my work is I like to wake up and just be surprised every day. I mean, I like good surprises, please, so keep the bad ones away. But you've helped create that. Like, this was such a great surprise to me. And so it was amazing to connect with the community, to make those sparkle bots, to see how they were getting used and distributed. And they did their job, right? It's like they're like, when you need a bit of sparkle, just take a look and your bot will give you some. And again, you're giving it to yourself, but the bot becomes this sort of symbolic catalyst. So that was pretty special. Thanks for that.
That was super, super fun. And thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
And they say that good things come in threes. So we did the podcast together.
Yep.
We did the Sparkle Bot project together.
Yep.
I don't know if this counts as a three. I don't think this is enough to count as a three.
Oh, man.
But so I think we have something else coming down the line in the future.
Sure. I mean, who knows what that could be? But you like I said, you've connected me with other guests as well, which have been pretty amazing. and we might end up all collaborating on something.
I would love
Right?
that.
Together.
Absolutely
So,
love that. But
sure.
before I let you go, why don't you just tell our listeners a little bit more about your book and how they can order it? I've pre-ordered my copy. I can't
Thank
wait.
you.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. But why don't you? This is your opportunity to do a little plug for your book. So
Yeah,
please
yeah,
take the
sure,
opportunity.
sure. I will plug it because it's just a cool story, and I think the book is going to be quite remarkable. So I am a co-author on this book. There's two others that really hold a lot of the expertise on the content of this book. So I'm sort of they've dubbed me their creative muse and experiential infusion into this book. So the book's called Monster Transformation. And the topic is around organizational transformation. What happens when something hits that you have to then shift and change around as an organization?
Like
And
AI, for
like AI,
example.
which
Yeah.
of course is literally in the it's like in the era of AI, how do you transform? Which is where we are now. And so that came about because there was a professor, his name is Ari Lightman, who is at Carnegie Mellon, who knows deeply about technological and digital transformation. Rafe Massoud is the other author, and he was a client of mine. He's now at Royal Caribbean. He invited me to come in and create a lot of experiential work and training in different organizations. And so I get this phone call, like these beautiful surprises, and it's almost like they needed the third leg to this stool because they had operational expertise with Rafe, they had intellectual expertise with Ari, and what they needed was things to be able to activate and visually describe this idea. And so I came on board. They were very generous and made me a co-author of it. And there's about 200 plus illustrations in this book that I've helped create, plus 10 other pieces of activation, which are about experiences. And the entire metaphor looks at, and I think it was sort of a wonderful surprise how this metaphor came about because it was iterative. We didn't start with this. It's simply that you can think about the challenges in any organizational transformation as monsters. So, for
Right.
example, I'm wearing a T-shirt right now, which describes the silo monster. So things get siloed, and
Right.
so the metaphor is it's a monster, and then there's monster slayers in your organization, which are capabilities. So to defeat the silo monster, you need someone to be able to be a barrier buster, or you need somebody to be a team builder. And so we've used this different metaphor of monster and monster slayers, plus the illustrations, to help people wrap their heads around these capabilities that they need to cultivate in the organization, especially in the time of AI. So that's a long description. I kind of need to work on the elevator pitch, I suppose, but
No,
that's
that's
what it's
great.
about. And it's coming out. Actually, I'm getting a case of them next week, so we'll have a little unboxing video thing, and then I think they hit the shelves before the end of the year, around December 23rd. So coming soon.
So looking for a holiday gift. That sounds like a good one.
There you go. Nice plug. Yes, I should have said that. Right.
Well, you are a wonderful monster slayer and a wonderful guest. And I
Thank
hope
you.
that anyone listening will check out the podcast with Gary. It was a lot of fun. And Gary, you're our first guest to the Reimagination Cafe on YouTube. So thank you very much. Really, really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Jessica, great to see you again. Keep up the great work.